And welcome into the First Call podcast presented by First Bet and Express Bet. Jeremy Plonk alongside Jeff Siegel. Each week we handicap 8 stakes races for the weekend. And Jeff, since the Belmont Stakes, this is the best weekend on the calendar. We've got opening day today as we record on Friday at Del Mar. It's second weekend of action at Saratoga, and it's Haskell Day at Monmouth Park. What a great day of racing we've got coming up on Saturday.
We really do. Monmouth Park's got a couple of critical grade ones. Saratoga is Saratoga. And Del Mar, I tell you what, I handicap the entire card for Express Bet for Del Mar. I do it for Saratoga as well. But I never had to work so hard at Del Mar. Where are all these horses coming from? Every race overfilled, and a lot of 2-year-old racing there. So I really spend some time. I'll post that tonight for those who are going to go down tomorrow at Del Mar, and then of course we've got all the other races covered here on this podcast. So lots of good gambling coming up this weekend.
You mentioned earlier this week that if you're not working hard, you're miserable. So the fact that you were working so hard means you must be joyous and over the moon, Jeff.
I am absolutely thrilled. I couldn't be happier. I mean, I was spending all night handicapping. I was in my element. I was in my comfort zone. Hopefully I'll pick some winners, but these are good races around the country that I've also looked at, and you have as well. A couple of stakes at Saturday at Saratoga, Monmouth, we mentioned, Del Mar with a couple of good grass races there. And although we're not going to be doing any Sunday racing on this podcast, there's good racing on Sunday as well around the country. So great weekend fitting for this time of the year in midsummer. Looking forward to great racing, not only here at Del Mar, but at Saratoga as well.
Yeah, the fourth quadrant of the weekend is Woodbine, right? It's Woodbine Oaks and Plate Trial Day on Sunday north of the border. So like you mentioned, a lot of great racing all the way through Sunday. We mentioned it is opening day at Del Mar today, 2 o'clock local first post time for this Friday card. Later Friday cards throughout the meet will start a little bit later in the day, but that 2 o'clock Pacific post time for Del Mar today includes a special promotion when you bet with First Bet and Express Bet, a $10 money back special on every race opening day at Del Mar. That means if your win bet finishes second or third, you get up to $10 of your bet back in the form of wagering credits after the fact. So play Del Mar today, and you got a safety net to play with in today's action. Also, for Friday, horse players want to let you know there's a nice carryover in the late pick 5 today at Colonial Downs. More than 33,000 in the carryover there. Straight pick 5, not a jackpot bet. So extra $33,000 seated in the pool for today's action at Colonial Downs. If you're playing there, be sure to do so with First Bet and Express Bet. Time to get handicapping here on the First Call podcast. We've got 8 stakes to get to. The first is the Caress Stakes. It'll be race number 6 on the card at Saratoga on Saturday. Jeff, it was all upsets. We talked about this on our It's Official podcast on Tuesday, recapping opening week at Saratoga. It was stakes upsets left and right. 6 favorites of 7 went down. Can we get to the chalk, back to the winner's circle in the Caress Stakes? I'm going to venture a little bit off the beaten path.
It won't be easy for the 9-5 morning line favorite, Roses for Deborah. She is moving up from Allowance Company, but she's an impressive daughter of Liam's Map. I mean, she's won 5 out of 7. Her last 2 were impressive, and she looks like she's found her niche as a late-running turf sprinter. Although she's got enough speed to lay fairly close, I don't think she'll be in the front in this race. She'll probably draft in behind Bubble Rock, and maybe Bubble Rock could actually get loose in the lead here and maybe be tough to catch. But the way Roses for Deborah has been going through her conditions, including this recent Belmont allowance win in which she ran 6 furlongs. I don't care if you're doing this downhill. It's fast, 106-4, career top 95 by her number. I think she might be good enough to step up to this level and win.
Being a first-time stakes performer, let's give the fans a look at her in Allowance Company at Belmont.
Inside it is Sister Annie. Roses for Deborah is squeezing on through now. Here comes Roses for Deborah, making the move to take the lead now. Majestic Doro runs in second. Mail Order with a late move on the outside. Roses for Deborah has a 3-length lead as they come on for the finish, and it will be Roses for Deborah and Joe L. Rosario.
Rosario will be at Monmouth Park riding on the Haskell Day card. So Shed no tears for Roses for Deborah. She picks up Irad Ortiz Jr., so the rich get richer there, riding for Christophe Clement. Wakanaka is an interesting one in here, Jeff, for your former Team Valor syndicate. Wakanaka's a horse turning back in distance. We saw Bill Mott kind of go sprint route, moving back and forth with some of his top turf sprinters earlier already in the season. Now Wakanaka makes that route to sprint, the mile now to the sprint distance of 5.5. Can she be sharp enough at 5.5, you think, here?
I would have picked her if I thought there was going to be more speed in this race. But I will say this, because she's obviously going to come from way out of it. But she's got a great turn of foot. And here's the thing. As we record this, it's supposed to be raining perhaps today at Saratoga.
Yeah.
There may be some give in the ground. And if that's the case, it's going to help Wakanaka. If you look at her form in Italy, she actually won a couple of races on with give in the ground, and including a grade 3, a group 3 on soft ground. So, maybe that'll help. You never know. When that course gets just a little bit of water in it, it goes from rock hard to, normal, so to speak. And maybe even it'll be a little deeper than that. So I looked at her. I just wish there was a little bit more zip in the race, because it looks to me in a small field, Bubble Rock might be able to draft in and set a make the lead and go easy. And then maybe Roses for Deborah will be just behind her. And I just don't know if there's going to be enough heat up front to complement herself. But I tell you what, if she's 8-1, she's worth that. A little bit of a gamble. Wakanaka definitely has a look.
The Mott horse I was trying to think of was Casa Creed, right? Who's been going sprint route successfully. He's managed his career beautifully. Now they'll try to do it with Wakanaka for the same connections. Coming up, you mentioned that the turf course was expected to get a little rain today. They are off the turf today at Saratoga on Friday. Again, we record our podcast on Friday for Saturday's races, but Friday's action at Saratoga is off the turf except the Lake George Stakes, which is staying on the grass. So as you mentioned, we'll want to keep an eye on the course conditions, as you always do at Saratoga. Saturday's big race at the Spas, the Coaching Club American Oaks, $500,000 purse, grade 1, 1.1 miles. It's one circuit around the 9 furlong oval there at the Spa. Wet Paint is in there. Gambling Girl is in there. Hoosier Philly's in there. So we've got some named players. And Gambling Girl, coming out of a second place finish in the Kentucky Oaks, has one of the marquee performances of this group.
And they're into the stretch of the Kentucky Oaks. And Pretty Mischievous has taken the lead on the outside. The Alice Look is trying to put in a run as they come into the final furlong. And here comes Gambling Girl. And she's coming with a rush in the center of the track. Pretty Mischievous to catch. Gambling Girl to the outside. Coming after her. Gambling Girl and Pretty Mischievous. These two down to the wire. Pretty Mischievous, Gambling Girl. Pretty Mischievous wins the Kentucky Oaks. Gambling Girl was second, then Wet Paint, followed by the Alice Look and North Leader. The final time was 1:49.77 seconds.
In fourth place, Oaks finishers are back in a rematch. Of course, Hoosier Philly did not run in the Kentucky Oaks, but she's gotten back on the beam in her more recent starts, kind of what we expected to see from her as she fell off form at the beginning of her 3-year-old year. So this is a really interesting crossroads kind of race at a crossroads distance, 1.1 miles here. They're not stretching out to, the long route performances here, not trying to go the 1.25 miles or anything like that. Who do you see shaking out in this one?
Well, I'm going to do Tom Amos a favor by not picking Hoosier Philly, because whenever I pick her, you can't find her. Whenever I try to beat her, she wins off by herself. So good luck to Tom and Hoosier Philly. And she's going to make the lead here. That's pretty clear. Although she's not going to go 25-1. I mean, that's what happened in the Monomoy Girl. And they kind of gifted her that win, and she took well advantage of it. But I have a hunch, she's looking lucky is going to be by her side. Not in front of her, but at least making her run a little bit the first part. Right. Now, I have an issue with Gambling Girl. I'm picking her to win, but I need your input on this one, Jeremy, because I'm looking at Gambling Girl, and she's run 10 times. We just saw it. That was a fantastic run in the Kentucky Oaks. She angled wide. She finished well. She was not hanging. She just ran out of room. A career top buyer number by more than 11 points. So she really ran a legitimate race. And I like the fact that they gave her time off since that race, because she really laid her body down. But here's my issue. You look at 10 races, 9 of them wouldn't win this one, but the last one probably would. So do you trust Gambling Girl to come back and run back to that obviously very good race that we all saw? Or is she going to regress to the means here, to the norm? I don't know what to do with her. I'm going to assume that Pletcher's got her ready. It's strange that he kept her at Churchill to run to work. I'm just not sure. I can't grasp this one. I'm picking her to win because that was the best race I've seen a filly run, other than Pretty Mischievous. So, where do you stand on her?
She's going to be an underlay, I think. She's lost 6 in a row, right? I mean, I know she narrowly lost the Kentucky Oaks, but she has lost 6 races in a row. One of those was the Wet Paint and the Honeybee. If we get a wet track, then obviously Wet Paint with that 3-for-3 record is really an off-track runner, So, Gambling Girl to me is going to be too short of a price. I don't think the value is there. And so I would try to find somebody else to beat her. Obviously, respect the form. She's been there every time. Top 4 she fires, but she's been beaten in 6 straight races. As we mentioned, she's 2 for 10 lifetime. So to take a short price on her, I wouldn't do it in there. She was 13-1 in the Kentucky Oaks when she was runner-up. Wet Paint in that same race was 8-5. You're going to get a flip in the prices this time. Gambling Girl is going to be much shorter than Wet Paint in here. So, let's take a look at the conditions. If it's a wet track, obviously Wet Paint's probably going to get bet. People see that 3-for-3. So, kind of wait, see what the conditions there. But I'd be against Gambling Girl at a short price in this particular spot. And here I respect her, but she doesn't have to win this race, and you don't have to take a $5 mutual to find out if she's going to. And I think she'll be in that $5 range. I'm not sure what to do with South Lawn. The races at Fairgrounds were exceptional. Then the Kentucky Oaks was just such a poor effort in that race. Bit of a troubled start, but from the inside, Florent Drew, a pretty aggressive rider. I could see South Lawn being sent pretty hard because you get that 1 1/8 that starts near the clubhouse turn. You want to secure the position. So I would expect South Lawn to be in this race earlier than maybe the running lines suggest. And that would probably keep her around a long time. I wouldn't be surprised if South Lawn bounces back here and runs a good one. Bullet workouts for Norm Cassie, Cassie's horses, Norm, not his father, Mark, but Norm's horses tend to either run through the bridle or, you don't get the big effort from them. A little on the more inconsistent side, but man, when they run brilliant races, they run just incredibly brilliant races. I wouldn't be surprised if South Lawn's not the bet in here at the price here, Jeff. A horse whose high end looks good enough to win this, but its bad end is, off the board in this particular race.
Yeah, well, at 9-2 in the morning line, you can probably gamble. If you think it's one or the other, then 9-2 is a good price, right?
Yeah.
And I could see her from the rail saving ground right behind the leaders, and just a matter of how much pressure Hoosier Philly is going to get. But I think at 1 1/8, even if she gets a long, lonesome type of lead, that still might be stretching her limit. So, like I say, I can't get with Hoosier Philly. Yeah. I really don't know what to do with Gambling Girl, so I'm at a loss. If you want to talk me into Southland, I'm all ears. Trust me.
I want at least that 9-2 though. If you're going to beat Wet Paint, if you're going, Brad Cox, if you're going to beat Todd Pletcher, you're going to line up. Then you're going to beat Hoosier Philly, whose brilliant races are awfully good. You're going to beat those 3. You better get more than $11 to do it. So I kind of want to watch the tote there, but South Lawn at the right price could drag me in, and it wouldn't be kicking and screaming there in the Coach Club American Oaks. Let's go to Monmouth Park, where it's Haskell Day on Saturday, biggest day of the racing year in New Jersey for the thoroughbreds. We're just a couple weeks away from the Hambletonian for the harness runners as well. So big month of action in the state of New Jersey. Huge stakes card, 14 races, I believe 6-7 stakes on the program in all. An all stakes pick 4 is part of that. The late pick 5's not all stakes, but it'll be the final 5 races on the card for that late pick 5, but the all stakes pick 4 will wrap up with the Haskell. We'll talk about some of those races 9, 10, 11, and 12. The Haskell is the 12th on the program. But the first of our stakes that we'll talk about is the Monmouth Cup. Earlier in the card is the WinStar Matchmaker Stakes. So we have stakes action beginning in race number 5. Our first handicapping chore will be the 8th race on the card. It is the Monmouth Cup, and at 1 1/8 here, these are the older horses. And Jeff, maybe these horses headed towards the Whitney at Saratoga, they wheel back to a race like that. We don't have the deepest field in here for $400,000. It looks more like a grade 3 field than the purse, I would say, at $400,000. But we do have Proxy in here, and he's a legit grade 1, grade 2 type.
He really has only himself to beat here. I tried to beat him. I looked at him. Okay, he's 3-5, so maybe I can find something I like at 5, 6, 7-1. I went through every horse, and as I got deeper and deeper into the field, going down to number 7, Wayland Springs, I figured I think I'm in trouble here because I can't find anything I like.
You're flipping for another page, hoping there's another page of horses.
Exactly. Now we're done here. You're right. So I ended up with Proxy at 3-5. Not the kind of horse that I would ever take at 3-5. Although I may have been a little too harsh on him. I mean, he's been first or second 11 out of 17 times, 5 wins. Was a Group 2 winner 2 races back at Oaklawn. Before that, got beat in neck in my backyard in a San Diego handicap. Certainly ran well, and his buyer numbers just dwarf the rest of them. I'm afraid I can't beat him. I can't bet on him. I can watch him, and then hope that he does well for Michael Stidham. But to me, it's really up to Proxy not to come down to the other's level and just show up and run his race, and he's going to win.
Couple trainer notes in here. Jamie Ness red hot in the Mid-Atlantic this week, doing some stats earlier in the week. He's got Calibrate in here. If you're going to try to find maybe a horse to go with, Proxy in here, maybe Calibrate to look at. And Anti-Gravity, just want to mention Dan Ward, now the trainer of record of this one, former with the Jerry Hollendorfer barn. You're very familiar with Dan Ward. It might be a new name in the program to, horse players, but Dan Ward's been Jerry's assistant for 3 decades or so. A guy you know very well, I'm sure.
Yeah, and before that, he was Bobby Frankel's assistant, and I knew him when he was a young guy working for Bobby. And we're talking about the early 1980s. I've known Dan for 40 years, and he is a really good guy, and he's a very sharp guy. And I always often wondered why he wouldn't have gone out on his own earlier, but he's one of these, I just want to train. I don't want to have to deal with owners and stuff like that. I would just rather just be the back guy and do all the work. And he loves working with the horses, and he is an exceptional horseman. Now that he's on his own, I'm hoping that he does well. To responsibilities that he's going to have that he didn't have to worry about before. But he's a good guy, and I'm wishing the best for him.
Now he's got to be on the phone with owners all the time.
Too, like me,
So Anti-Gravity for Dan Ward there in race number 8 at Monmouth. The All Stakes Pick 4 kicks off next in race number 9. It's the Wolf Hill Stakes. If you want some analysis of that Pick 4, I've got a ticket and analysis of the 4 races 9 through 12 up at expressbet.com and news.first.com. So you can check out my Pick 4 that we're attacking, starting with the Wolf Hill in race number 9. Kind of a tough race to handicap the 9th ahead of time because 3 horses are cross-entered in the Van Cleve Stakes at Colonial Downs on the same day. So for the purpose of the podcast, we're going to move ahead to the next race on the card then. Race number 10, the Molly Pitcher. And this one's got a superstar in the returning champion in this race, Search Results, one of the top mares in the country. She's earned $1.6 million. She's running 4 straight grade 1s, including the Breeders' Cup Distaff. Last time out, she looked like she was home in the grade 1 Phipps, but it took a big effort from Clairiere to come and get her.
And they're at the quarter pole. And here is Search Results on the outside to take a narrow lead. Overplayed hard. Past the Champagne. Moves off the rail. Clairiere is now coming on the outside. It is Search Results and Played Hard. They are 1-2 moving for the 16th pole. Clairiere on the outside continues to gain. Search Results trying to hold off Clairiere. Here comes Clairiere. Search Results right there. It's the courageous Clairiere to win the Ogden Phipps.
So Clairiere got the victory that day. She's back in the Shoe V, not going to the Shoe V as Search Results. She finds the Molly Pitcher here for $500,000 in grade 3 company and a race that she's already won 365 days ago last year. So Search Results where she belongs in here. Joel Rosario down the ride, picks up the mount here as Flavian Pratt stays at Saratoga. So a good pickup here for Search Results for Joel Rosario. She's going to be awfully tough in this particular spot, Jeff.
And she's got to carry a whopping 118 pounds in this race. She's actually getting weight from most of these. I love the way the conditions were written. I'm sure Chad Brown did as well. You mean I can run this mare for $500,000 and I get? I think we'll go there.
Yeah.
Plus, he knows she likes the track. So Search Results 8-5. I can't see her at 8-5. I mean, I think she's going to go even money or less based on the company line she's been keeping, and she's been running really well. I mean, I also like the fact that she's had 42 days off since what had to be a heartbreaking, hard, taxing, gut-wrenching race, and she certainly seems to have or should have been able to get over that by now. And with the tactical speed that she has, she always seems to have every chance, and she's going to have one here. So for me, a very short price, logical top pick, and I expect her to win. That's number 4, Search Results.
The X factor in here is Love, the Godolphin runner by Medaglia d'Oro out of Velvety. Brendan Walsh trains off 3 straight victories, has won those by about 28 lengths, the 3 wins at Keeneland, Churchill, and Ellis. So did the Tour of Kentucky in those 3 wins, maiden, allowance, and in a little tougher allowance group last time out at Ellis in the slop. So it's going to be the class test for this 4-year-old filly. She's only had 4 career starts, 3 blowout wins. I give her a slight upset chance because she's going to be in front of search results, I think. And if you're going to beat search results, we saw that, she got run down in that last one, but she's idled a couple times in her starts, over the years. And so if she's sitting second and kind of idles, the horse in front of her, I think, is the most dangerous one throughout. And that could be loved. If there is an upset in here, you get Gaffleon, you get Walsh. They've had an incredible 2023 together. These two teaming up in races this year. So I give Love a little bit of a puncher's chance in here, but absolutely Search Results is definitely the one to beat. And, I think 3 to 5 is probably more realistic.
Yeah, I wanted to pick Love. I've been here. You have a lightly raced, beautifully bred Medallion d'Oro filly. She's won her last races. She's got tactical speed. She's numbers aren't there yet, but she's getting better. I mean, who's to say she can't reach this? I looked at her races and looked at the company lines, and I just couldn't pull the trigger on her. Right. I think she'll run second, but I mean, Search Results is no empty stall. I mean, she's not someone you just push over, and she's going to put up resistance. And I think Love going. This is literally going from an allowance race to a Grade 1. Let's face it.
Search Results,
And so, I mean, Search Results is not a Grade 3 horse. So I think Love will run well, but I do think Search Results definitely has a significant edge.
We'll see if the track carries speed as it typically does on Haskell Day. I mean, Monmouth's a speed favoring track to start with, but on Haskell Day, it's exceptionally speed favoring over the years. We'll see on the undercard. By the time we get to that race on the card, we'll know how the track is played throughout the course of the day. And if we get any weather Friday or Saturday there in Oceanport, that could obviously change the conditions. If it's a drying out racetrack, it can be very tiring at that point and not carry speed. But historically, when you handicap Haskell Day at Monmouth, you want to find yourself some speed as the track has played out over the course of the years. Next up on the schedule, we will stick to Monmouth and go to the United Nations onto the grass course here at 1 mile 3/8, 11 furlongs on the grass, $600,000 Grade 1 UN. Catnip won the local prep, the Grade 3 Monmouth, and a couple horses who have run well over the course are back in this one. And we've got Red Knight, the veteran $1.7 million earner, making another start in Grade 1 company. He won the Man Award 2 starts back, coming from well off the pace. So some divergent styles in here, but there's not a ton of pace in this race for a horse like Red Knight, who comes from so far behind. And Monmouth, again, like the main track, the turf course plays a little more speed friendly than a lot of grass courses do. It's not one of those big, long, lush, deep turf courses, kind of shorter crop. They get over it quickly. So I like a horse who's got a little bit of pace or a chance to at least be in the mix at Monmouth. I'm going to take a shot against Red Knight in here, who's probably going to go favorite. Planetario, a horse from Southern California, Jeff, should like this firmer Monmouth turf course, getting over the top of the ground as he did in your backyard at Santa Anita. This course should play very similar to what it did out west.
Yeah, I really like him. And I was at Santa Anita on Sunday on the apron during the morning, where I run into all the trainers and I can grill them, which is always a kind of an edge sometimes,
I bet they love that.
Well, it's more friendly than anything else. But I had said to Richard, I said, I really love the way Planetario won the San Juan. And he said, I said, are you going back to the United Nations? He says, yeah. He says, he's never been better. He's doing great. I just hope he's good enough. And I said, Richard, you don't have to hope he's good enough. He is good enough. Yeah. Trust me. The way he's come around now, he's a 5-year-old, but he's not really even 5 yet, because he was bred on Southern Hemisphere time, and he's only had 11 starts. So he's one of these imports that's really got his whole life ahead of him. I mean, he's that good. He had won his, I think it was 5 out of his last 6 starts before he came up from Brazil. And look, you could be the best horse in Brazil and be like the best horse at, Charlestown, because you never know what you got there, but occasionally you're going to get a really top world-class horse there. And I do think Planetario is on the verge of doing that. Now, he doesn't have a lot of early speed, but he's got a great turn of foot. He can really quicken. And if Mike Smith has him within range, which I'm sure he will be from the quarter pole home, I think Planetario is going to exert his superiority just as he did in the San Juan.
Well, let's go back and take a look at that and let fans know this is a 1.75 miles, the San Juan Capistrano. We're only going to 1.3 miles, only a 1.3 miles in the UN. But watch the acceleration, as Jeff said, turn of foot with this horse, Planetario, at the end of a 1.75 miles. This looks like a horse coming home in a mile. Watch this turn of foot.
Planetario's had a good run, swings to the outside third. Awfully Naughty still with 5 to make up as Planetario storms to the front in the San Juan Capistrano and is opening up with authority. Planetario and Hector Berrios sizzling home to air it out in the San Juan Capistrano.
That was impressive. That was a no doubt about it performance. A similar effort in the United Nations is going to make Planetario awfully tough. If you say, look, Mandela's had some good Brazilians over the years. Think Sandpit going back in the day. Sandpit won this race, the United Nations, Brazilian import. I'm not saying this horse is Sandpit, who went on to win turf, dirt, didn't matter. It was just a superior grade 1 kind of horse. But Mandela's done it before. He knows the path here. He gets Mike Smith to ride this time. And under 124, they'll carry Co-Top Weight in here. Also, Red Knight carries 124, as well as Catnip. I like Catnip's race last time out, Jeff, in winning the Monmouth Stakes locally, and the preps run well. There's not a lot of speed in this race. And again, I think the turf course at Monmouth is going to carry horses towards the front a little farther than maybe they look on paper. I thought So High the 2 and Ocean's Map the 4 might be the horses that want to set the pace, with Catnip sitting right there. So I think Rosario's got a shot to have Catnip right in the mix. The Kitten's Joy part of it, you say, we'll get the 1 3/8. But the bottom of the pedigree out of a silent name mare, that's more of a miler pedigree. So we're going to need a soft pace and a good trip, I think, to get the 1 3/8 with Catnip. That's where I took my shot in here, just from a pace play. And I think we'll get a fair enough price. I think Planetario and Red Knight will probably be the top 2 choices. Catnip probably third choice on the tote. And that's the way I went in there. But Planetario's top race looks awfully, awfully tough.
Well, I'll tell you what, I like Planetario, but I'm a lot more, personally, as a handicapper, I'm more afraid of Catnip than I am of Red Knight, based on the race shape and everything else. Plus, you've got a gelding here, Catnip. He's only had 7 starts with 4 wins. He's just starting out. I mean, I don't know. I mean, his buyer numbers are rising with every start. I mean, he's got that good stalking style. I think he could make the lead here if they want him to. But to me, his turn of foot at shorter distances are very impressive. Now it's just a matter of whether he can get a 1 3/8. I can't see why he wouldn't. To me, it's a 6-3-3-6 with Planetario, my main push. But this is an intriguing, interesting addition to the United Nations, because a lot of times you get these old horses in here that been around forever, like the favorite. But these are fresh horses. These are horses that maybe they're good now. They might even be a lot better than just good in about 3-4 months from now. So it's a great race to not only to bet on, but to watch as well.
And I think Yamato is the one of the 3 Mike Makers in there that I like the best, and I think he might be the best price of the 3. He's going to rebound. I think he'll run a good effort there. A horse who was claimed a couple starts back, and these are the kind that Maker claims for like 50 and turns out to be grade 1, grade 2 turf marathon types. I give Yamato a shot to hit underneath in there, so if you're looking for the exotics, consider that one in the United Nations. Next up for us is race number 12. It's the Haskell Stakes, $1 million. This is the first of the big summer return races for the Triple Crown horses. Of course, Jim Dandy will be the prep coming up in a week's time towards the Travers, which will be at the end of August 26th, I believe, this year for the Travers Stakes. Certainly, you could go Haskell, Travers, and do both. That's what they're trying to do with the Kentucky Derby winner Mage. It was announced Tuesday, just 24 hours before the entry deadline, that they'd go ahead and enter Mage in the Haskell Stakes as a prep, and the prep for the Travers Stakes. And just the outward notation of the word prep in $1 million race, Jeff, makes you wonder, is Mage at his peak here for this particular spot? They're already couching and, softening the blow a bit that he may not be ready to run his best race. The one thing in Mage's camp is he's a great finisher, and this race has a lot of speed to it, so he's going to get the right pace set up in the Haskell. Is he fit enough? Is he strong enough? And is he good enough to take advantage of it? Let's start the conversation with the Derby winner, Mage.
I think Mage is, I think they're obviously the goal is the Travers. And I think if I'm the connections, I'm saying we really want to win. You never want to get the Kentucky Derby winner beat after he won the Derby, especially with this Eclipse Award still up in the air. So you don't want to have any losses. But I think they're probably thinking that if this is the best way to get him to the Travers. And if we sacrifice this race but win the Travers, then we've won the maybe we've won the war, because you win the Derby and the Travers. That's a hard thing to knock on the resume.
Right.
But as a gambler, I'm going to say to myself, let him beat me. Now, if you like 3-1, you figure, hey, 3-1 on the Derby winner is pretty good. And that's true. But I also have a little bit of a notion here that I'm not sure the pace is going to be as fast as you'd think that it would be, because I think what's going to happen here is I don't think they're going to send – I know they're not going to send Go Rocket Ride. He's been working behind horses, and he won the Affirm from off the pace. And what I liked about Go Rocket Ride is he switched off so beautifully. He didn't pull. He didn't do anything wrong. I'm not sure if he beat a whole lot in that race, but he's coming, but I don't think he's quite there yet. Okay. Then you have Extra Anejo, who you like, I like, everybody likes. I actually think he might find himself on the lead here, and here's the reason. And I want to show you this, because Arabian Night, even though he's been a front runner, he's outside of Extra Anejo. And the way Bob has been training him, and you can see him, he's 10 lengths behind his workmate. This is a horse that can switch off as well. I mean, watch this workout, Jeremy. He just storms home, but he does it the right way. He didn't try to go after that horse until he was chirped to, and watch him take off in the final furlong.
Yeah, and this is what you want to see, right? This is the pounce, and this is the stride. He's reaching out. Now, we've always said this with Arabian Night. He's a bit of a paddler, right? Look with that front left, and it's kind of moving all around and that sort of thing. But this is what you want. This is the patience and the attack, and, working out into the far turn. This is a typical Baffert 6 furlong, two-turn work almost, as you call it, right? He works 6 furlongs all the way through the clubhouse turn, so it's almost like a two-turn workout with only going the 6 furlong distance. Very good work there from Arabian Night. And the fact that Baffert's coaching him to sit and wait behind horses tactically tells you that's probably what they're going to try to do in the race, right? Exactly. And the comments from Baffert about Extra Anejo, he thinks that horse could be a potential star. So I think that's the one he fears. And as you mentioned, he may be the one to get the lead. So don't go out there and battle Extra Anejo off a 6-month layoff and go hell's bells and then have nothing left. Sit off of him and then try to pounce on him. So tactically, I think you've got this surmise properly, that I think the Baffert camp believes Extra Anejo is fast. They're going to let him go, and they're going to try to sit and pounce against him. Now, whether any of the other horses can get up into that mix, How Great Is Nate, Go Rocket Ride, Awesome Strong, those would be the other logical horses that might try to get up to the front. But it seems to me Extra Anejo's brilliance is stronger than those horses, and he should make the front in here if that's the way they want to go with it with Tyler Gaffney.
Yeah, and because he's drawn outside of him, I think the strategy dictates itself. Where okay, we're already outside of him. It's a mile and an eighth. I don't want to rip Arabian Night's guts out by going head and head or having to have to deal with a 45 and change half. Well, I've been training him to sit off the leaders. He shows me he can do that. He wants to do that. He doesn't. He's cooperating. He's learned his lessons well. And boy, has he trained well. That was an easy work. It was 3/4 and 11 flat. So it wasn't like it was like 14 or anything. So with Extra Anejo, who may or may not be a true mile and eighth horse, I don't, you always have to look at the Into Mischiefs and wondering how far they really want to run. Sure. Let's give Extra Anejo the lead. Let's just use him as a prompter, just as we simulated in a workout, and then we'll try to go get him in the final furlong. And other than that, that's the way I see it. It's a tactical race. It's a good race. I think what we're going to find is horses like Tapit Trice and those kind, maybe even Mage, they might be up against it here based on the fact that you've got two fresh, developing, lightly raced, improving, and incredibly talented colts in the race that they haven't had to see. I just think it might even be a parade. Extra Anejo in front and Arabian Night sitting behind him, and that's the race.
I'm intrigued by the workouts in here, not only the one that you showed, but the pattern and the spacing of the workouts, the amount of workouts. Look, the Mage camp has already said, we're gearing towards the end of August, right? So he's only got 4 workouts since the Preakness Stakes. Tapit Trice has only worked 3 times since the Belmont. There was no work between June 30th and July 15th, unless the clockers missed it. But even at that point, you're only looking at 4 works since the Belmont. Not a lot of activity there. I like that Go Rocket Ride, who ran June the 4th in the Affirmed, has worked 5 times right on cue. This looks like intent, right? They aimed for the Haskell. The goal was there. He's worked strong. He's worked right on pattern. He's had more work towards this race. It feels like Go Rocket Ride is in the Haskell for his summer specialty, right?
Yeah,
this is
absolutely.
it. He's not a 1.25 mile horse. So he's probably going to give the best performance he can. Whether it's good enough or not, we'll find out. But as far as trainer intent goes and that workout tab and the spacing and everything, I really like what I see from Go Rocket Ride in this particular spot. And with everybody else, there's questions, right? They're all coming back from something. This looks like his race, right? I mean, when you saw him in the San Felipe earlier this spring, were you saying Kentucky Derby horse with him as fast as he was? Maybe not. Mandela's not one to push. 1.125 miles for $1 million. That horse, that's like the goal, right? It doesn't get any bigger than 1.125 miles for $1 million. There's nothing to run for in California. So like in March, you would have said Go Rocket Ride is a Haskell horse. And they got him here with the prep, 5 workouts right to it. If he's good enough, he's good enough, but you can't argue with the planning here whatsoever. I mean, it has come right on cue for him, and we'll see if he can get it done. I think this is an interesting race. It's a race where I think you can use a few horses in here. I don't have a strong opinion. I wanted to make this the Express Bet race of the week, and I was twisted in knots. I couldn't come up with one in here that I liked more than many of the others. Extra Anejo, Go Rocket Ride look like horses who kind of belong here and were aimed here. Arabian Night has the obvious brilliance. He may have been the Kentucky Derby favorite. If he got one more start in him, he was maybe going back to the Rebel Stakes at Oaklawn before they pulled the plug on him after the Southwest. He was on par maybe to be the favorite for the Kentucky Derby. So there's a ton of talent there. Really interesting edition of the Haskell Stakes. Can't wait to see it on Saturday. It'll be race number 12 on the card at Monmouth Park. Let's switch gears now and go to Old Del Mar by plane, by train. I don't know. How do you get there, Jeff? By Tesla?
By Tesla, yes. And I go Highway 15 to avoid all the traffic going down there. And because I have a Tesla, I can drive in the fast lane, so to speak, the carpool lane. So it's a very, very pleasant. That's by the way, the advantage of having an electric car. They let you go in the fast lane. I love driving down there. It used to be terrible. You go on that 405 and you're stuck in the traffic. And now I take where I live, it's just as fast to go inland and on that fast lane. It's a beautiful drive. I was actually thinking, and still am thinking about driving down today and then coming right back. But I'll see how I feel like in about an hour if I'm motivated enough. Otherwise, I'll be going down for the weekend. But no, I can't wait for Del Mar. And a great card today. And by the way, one thing I wanted to throw in real quick. Anybody who really who is tempted to bet on Go Rocket Ride, take a look at how Mr. Fisk does today in the Oceanside. Okay. I think he's 8-1 in the morning line for Baffert. It's a grass race, so it's kind of apples and oranges. But I think that horse got a chance at a price, and if he runs well, that certainly would promote Go Rocket Ride because Go Rocket Ride handled him pretty easily the other day. But I think Mr. Fisk is okay, so we'll see.
And that's part of that Del Mar opening day card again, where we've got the money back special up to $10 back on your bets with First Bet and Express Bet on Friday's card at Del Mar. So be sure to check that out. Jeff gave you Mr. Fisk there, maybe one to keep an eye on at Del Mar this afternoon. Saturday's card features the Oceanitas Stakes in race number 7 and also the San Clemente in race number 9, pair of turf miles for us. Jeff, start us off in race number 7. Big field in here with some also eligible action. So capacity group expected in a good betting race in the Oceanitas.
It's a good betting race if you like something and if you have the good fortune to have whoever you bet on have a good trip, because when you run this many on that course, you're just holding your breath. There's so much speed in this race. I think Warren's Candy Girl, who is a 4-time winner over the Del Mar turf course, even though her recent form was below standard, but I think she's going to bounce back here. But she's a deep closer in a race with a lot of speed, and she is going to need luck. I mean, that's just the way it is. But when she's feeling good and she's right, she can win a race like this. But I could say the same thing about just about anybody in here. It's an amazing race because it's so deep. The full fields, 14 runners going a mile on grass. Man, just flip a coin, really. If you're playing a rolling exotic like a pick six, just allocate a lot of money for this race. You're going to need it. But I ended up with Warren's Candy Girl just because of the horse for course angle and the race shape angle, which should allow her to have every chance from off the pace.
It's funny when I saw her name in the entries. I'm like, what is she, like 11 now? It
seemed
like she
like
was in every big. Yes,
I
I couldn't
know.
believe when she was 5 and she's only made 23 starts because I think I've seen every single one of them, and they seem like they're all at Del Mar on the
You know what
grass.
it is? You know what the problem is, Jeremy? Craig Lewis has got about 19 Warren horses in his
That's
mark.
probably what it is. That's what's
probably you're
confusing
thinking
me.
of some of the other Warrens, whatever. So.
How about Nevisian Sunrise in here? We've got a horse who was formerly with Chad Brown, now with Michael McCarthy, going west, the ship and win, so some extra incentive there and money on the line, perhaps. How do you think that East Coast form? It's been a long layoff. We've not seen Nevisian Sunrise since Saratoga 2022, coming off a year layoff. But how do you think the East Coast turf form matches up when they head west?
Oh, I think it's fine. I mean, the layoff. She's been out for almost a year. The works are on dirt, but they look pretty good. The 59 flat, a bullet work was good. That means she's cranked up. Now, I thought that she probably was most effective on the lead, but I noticed in her form that, no, I mean, she can sit 4th or 5th if she has to. 5-year-old mare, lightly raced with only 9 starts. Is she in the top 3 for my selections? Absolutely. There's not a doubt in my mind. And she gets Juan Hernandez, our leading rider. So I would suggest that Nevisian Sunrise has a big look in here. And she's got more tactical speed than Warren's Candy Girl. So maybe she can avoid the traffic and then have her chance.
Saturday feature at Del Mar is the San Clemente, first of the big stakes races here in the meet. Grade 2, $200,000. These are the 3-year-old fillies. Prep race for the Del Mar Oaks in here. And Del Mar Oaks, of course, a grade 1 event. It features Anisette, second time in the U.S. for this British import. The first time she ran, you had to wait a while to find her. She's got 1 beat at the top of the stretch, the 8-horse to the inside. Watch this finish from Anisette.
Luther is on the far outside. Unfaithful Ways. Glenall is in the mix, swinging to the outside for the drive. And from the back of the field, Emerald Lake trying to thread through traffic. They're in the final furlong, and it's Lady J short lead. Unfaithful Ways getting a clear shot. And from the back, here's Anisette. And Anisette with a bold, beautiful move along the inside. Anisette gets up to win.
Heady ride there with a little bit of racing luck, but Flavian Pratt had a lot of horse under him that day. Umberto Rispoli will pick up the mount here on Anisette with Pratt riding on the East Coast. So, Jeff, are you back on Anisette or are you going somewhere else in a San Clemente?
No, she owes me nothing. I mean, I handicapped that race, which was just an allowance race, and I'm now on as a 2. But I had the good fortune of using the outstanding resources of ExpressBet and went back and watched her win at Wolverhampton, which we have in the library. And I said, oh, my God, this is a runner, and that was all weather. But, I mean, still, bred like she was, this was her first grass race that we just saw. And the one thing about her is that all Flavian can do, all he could do was guide her. He couldn't really ride her. He was steering her. So strictly on hand ride, and she was able to quicken like that. I don't know how fast she came the last quarter, but the leaders were 24-2, so she had to come in home in a very, very short 23, or maybe even quicker than that. And that was without really being aggressively ridden. She's trained well. Now, she's not a dirt horse, so she's not going to flash on the dirt, but she's fit. This was the race that Leonard was always going to point for after that. Inside 3-hole. Again, another race loaded with speed. Right. And I think Anisette, who is a relaxed, kind of a compact filly, but she can quicken when you ask her. And I think Umberto will just wait to the quarter pole and then let her, and hopefully she'll be able to get up in time. But 4-1 is about right. I'd like the 9-2 that we got in the allowance race, but I'm loyal. I'll stick with her and hope that she can win the San Clemente.
There's a good amount of speed to set up for in here because there's a lot of dirt horses and dirt speed in this race. The one thing about Del Mar, for all of its greatness and all of its attraction, there is nothing for the 3-year-olds on the dirt, whether you're a colt or a filly, right? There's no Derby race or Oaks race on the dirt. Those are both turf races when you get to Del Mar. And so you've got some 3-year-old fillies like And Tell Me No Lies, Olivia Twist, Flying Connection coming out of 6th. She set the pace in the Kentucky Oaks last time. They're now all trying the turf, right? These 3-year-old fillies are trying to find where they fit on the grass. Here you have a proven grass horse. She's going to get that dirt speed in here, so that should set up, I think, for her off the pace. I'm really interested to see how Olivia Twist runs in here. She ran 5th, a nice even race last time out in the 8 Bells at Churchill. She was really good at Remington. I've got a little soft spot for those horses, obviously. But Todd Fincher, the New Mexico and Texas-based trainer, had her at Remington last year, won the Trapeze, the race that's the counterpart to the Springboard Mile at the end of the meet. She's a pretty nice filly, and I think she might fit on the turf here a little bit. She's by Mishawish and out of a War Chant mare. She's bred to be on the turf her whole career. She hasn't been a good, even running sprinter, stretching out around 2 turns and getting turf for the first time. I'm going to give Olivia Twist a shot in here to be with Anisette, Jeff, as far as the exotics go, in what looks to be a really great betting race in the San Clemente.
You realize that she's 50-1 on the morning line.
I don't care.
I know you don't. Are you kidding? Are you kidding?
I am never afraid of a price, and dead on the board means alive to me. I never worry about what somebody else's odds are. To me, it's my opinion of the horse. So if nobody else likes him, I'm on an island, as I like to say, and I don't mind being on that island sometimes.
No, I was
bringing in there. Yeah,
bringing you good news there with 50-1.
I like that. I did not know that. Honestly, I print the past performances out when the entries come out, and oftentimes I do not see the morning lines until the day of.
I don't even want to see the morning line. I want to formulate my own opinion, and then sometimes I said, man, I love this horse. This is great. They get the morning line, it's like 3-5 or something.
It happens sometimes, yeah. But when you can get a big price, you take it. The way I look at it. Okay, so we've handicapped Monmouth, Saratoga, and Del Mar. A couple things I want to tell you about. First, 2 handicapping tournaments this weekend involving those 3 tracks. You got the $1,000 Haskell Challenge, a tournament that's run by Monmouth Park. It'll be on-track players at Monmouth, but ExpressBet is one of the online locations where you can play that tournament. So if you can't get the Monmouth and you want to play in the $1,000 Haskell Challenge this weekend, you can do it online at expressbet.com. So take advantage of that if you're not in the area to get out to Monmouth Park. And then our handicapping tournament that's going on, probably 15 years now. Fun in the Sun is back for Saratoga and Del Mar. It's a $100 contest where your tournament play is 10 $10 win bets. It's 10 races at Saratoga and Del Mar every Saturday. The last 5 races at Saratoga, the first 5 races at Del Mar. It's the same every week. You don't have to wait for the contest races to be announced. Last 5 at Saratoga, first 5 at Del Mar. Top 5 finishers in each of the 6 weekly contests will qualify for the final table, which comes up the closing weekend of the Saratoga and Del Mar meet, the final Saturday of the meet. I believe it's September 2nd off the top of my head. But the top 5 each week will qualify for that final table. Last year, the final table prize was more than $17,000. So a lot to play for each week. Weekly prizes about $2,000 to win the weekly contest, and then a $17,000 prize pool last year in the final table. Depends how many people play, because 100% of the fees that go into the tournament, all are paid back either in weekly prizes or goes into a progressive jackpot. We'll update the jackpot each week. ExpressBet will seed the final table with $10,000 to start, and then all the tournament fees that come in over the next 6 weeks will add to that final total. We'll see if we get it up over $17,000 like it was last year. So be sure to play Fun in the Sun every Saturday. It's just $10 win bets. You get the pari-mutuel earnings. So if you make money on your win bets the week but don't win the tournament, you're still getting cash back that way. A really fun tournament to play. The 4th year that we're doing the final table version of Fun in the Sun. You want some handicapping help for Saturday at Saratoga and Del Mar? Not only did you get Jeff's picks on the show, but here's the hat trick from Eddie Olchak, our handicapper for ExpressBet and FirstBet. Edzo's got 3 plays for you in his hat trick each Saturday, exclusively with FirstBet and ExpressBet. 2 of them at Saratoga on Saturday. The Spa, race number 5 to a T. At race number 11, he's got the 6, 7 Nation Army. He's also going to take you to Del Mar for race number 1, where his top pick is number 4, Tetsu. So if you notice, those races 11 at Saratoga and 1 at Del Mar, those are part of the Fun in the Sun handicapping contest. So if you're playing this weekend, need a little help with those 2 races. In the 11th, Eddie's going with 7 Nation Army. In the 1st at Del Mar, he's going with Tetsu. And if you notice when you get to your past performances, he's got a little feel for Robertino Diodoro on both coasts this weekend. So Edzo's looking for the Diodoro barn to strike for a couple. Fun in the Sun on Saturday. Also the big handicapping tournament, the $1,000 Haskell Challenge. If you like to play the harness races, again, we're getting close to Hambletonian Day at the Meadowlands. We've got a Meadowlands promo for you. You get up to a 10% rebate on Friday and Saturday night cards at the Meadowlands when you bet those with FirstBet and ExpressBet. So our harness players, be sure to get in on the action at the Meadowlands Friday and Saturday each week. Again, up to a 10% rebate. Jeff, a lot going on this weekend, Friday and Saturday. Opening day at Del Mar today, the big day on Saturday with the Haskell. And then on Sunday, it's Woodbine Oaks and Plate Trial Day. So a lot going on. And also Sunday, we've got the return of Nest, one of the top 3-year-old fillies in the land last year. She has not run since the Breeders' Cup. She'll be back in the Cheuvie against Clairiere. We saw Clairiere win the Phipps earlier on the show in a highlight where we were showing off search results, the runner-up in that race. Only 4 are going in the Cheuvie, but what do you make of Nest in her comeback as we say goodnight on this show?
I want to see one first. This was her recent breeze. There wasn't a lot of spark in the work. I thought she'd pulverized this maiden who was on the inside. And I mean, she's not really being asked, but she's not pulling the jock out of the saddle here. She's being chirped to just a little bit. And she's had 10 works, so she should be ready by now. But then I look at the fact that she hasn't been out. She's obviously loves this track, but this is the first race back. You've got Clairiere, who's never been better. And if this is going to turn out to be a match race, which on paper it looks like it is, I gotta favor Clairiere. I gotta favor the ones who's already had the racing and the one that I know is going to fire. And let's see what happens, and we'll see. I hope Nest runs really well. We could use her in that division for sure, but you never know off the long layoff. So I want to see one first.
That's the Cheuvie on Sunday at Saratoga. The feature races Sunday at Del Mar will be the Cougar II and the Wicker Stakes. Jeff Siegel will have all that for you with his What You Need to Know from Saratoga and What You Need to Know from Del Mar each and every day on the Express Bet and First Bet blog sections. Be sure to check out that written analysis each and every day. On behalf of everybody with First Bet and Express Bet, my partner Jeff Siegel, I'm Jeremy Plonk. Have a great weekend. We'll be back on Tuesday to wrap it all up on It's Official.